All right. Good Saturday afternoon, everyone. Thanks for stopping by for a check of your forecast. We are going to be breaking down kind of what's going on currently here in the Texas Panhandle. We have got some sleet and snow mix making its way through the southern counties that we cover. Again, this is likely the start of our next event. You can start seeing some of that snow coming in between Clovis and Tucumcari too. It's pretty light up there, but that stuff is moving in the direction of Amarillo. We have got some really cold temperatures that we've been dealing with. I don't think we broke the record just yet in Amarillo, but I do think that it could be possible that we end up with a new record low temperature tonight. I think it's increasingly likely that we end up with a new record minimum high temperature. We actually, the current record high temperature, minimum high for Amarillo for Saturday is 16 degrees, and we were in the single digits this morning. At midnight, we are not expecting to get back up into the double digits this afternoon either. And so that record likely going to get smashed and broken. And then we'll potentially have that chance to maybe break the snowfall record for the day and that daily record low temperature of -2. Alrita, thanks for swinging by this afternoon. If you guys have questions, feel free. We have got the chat up for YouTube as well as the Storm Surge 7 page on Facebook. So if you guys have a question, please ask away. But most of that snow you can see is going to be down there in the southeast panhandle. Clarendon, Silverton, and Childress, they're the ones dealing with the majority of that snowfall right now. Some of that could be some sleet as well mixing in. Chaser Blake Brown is down around Plainview. You can see again, we've got some additional snow coming in from the southwest. Let's take a closer look at that from a different radar. If we take a look towards Roosevelt County, really heavy band of precipitation down there. That is a mixture of snow and sleet. All of this stuff up closer to Tucumcari, for the most part, does appear to be snowfall from what we've heard so far. Andrew, we're going to be on the northern fringe of this very heavy band of snow. We're going to kind of break that down. There is some uncertainty on if we'll actually get into some significant amounts, but for the moment, I think that some of that, or most of that heavy snow is going to be just to our south, back in the direction of Tulia and Plainview. But you don't have to go very far to get into some significant amounts of precipitation. Looks like it's snowing again over there in Dimmitt. Down in Castro County, make sure that you guys are being cautious if you're going to hit the roadway today. We are expecting more snow through the rest of this afternoon and probably overnight tonight. It may snow for up to 12 to 16 hours straight, and we could see some snow rates as high as 1 to 2 inches per hour. Let's take a look at another one. Jill, we'll get to Shamrock here in a second. Dumas, you can see some really light snow flurries kind of happening up there. Y'all are probably done with the significant snow accumulations on the other side of the Canadian River. You actually got downgraded to a winter weather advisory in Moore County. We'll get to that too here in a moment. But Bushland doesn't look like there's any snow falling right now. That will probably change as we get further into this evening, and we'll eventually start seeing some snow move in from eastern New Mexico. Brenda, thanks for stopping by. Shane, thanks for swinging by. Yeah, I'm probably thinking around 3 to 5 inches if you read that web story we posted. David, man, thanks for tuning in. We'll get to Claude here in a second. You guys will have probably marginally a little bit more than Amarillo because you're further south and east. We're looking at probably 3 to 5, Susie, for Amarillo. This is Childress. You can see that snow coming down at a decent clip. I'll have to talk to you later, Blake. Current temperatures, 4 degrees in Amarillo, 3 in Dumas, 1 in Perryton. Again, if we get back to the double digits, I'll be kind of shocked here for the Amarillo area. We are likely going to set a new daily minimum high temperature. The current one is 16 degrees. I don't think we're going to get there today. Wind speeds out of the north around 10 to 20, and this is what those wind chills look like. -16 is your feel like in Amarillo. It is brutally cold. Wind chill values of that magnitude allow for frostbite and hypothermia to start setting in as little as 30 minutes if you're not dressed adequately or appropriately. So if you are going to go outside, dress in layers. Saw a couple of people still kind of moving about in the Amarillo area on our way in this morning. Which again, just be careful. There's not a lot of snow on the ground, but a lot of those side streets probably have a thin layer of snow on them. So when that gets packed down, it could get a little slick. So just remember, it's all-wheel drive, not all-wheel stop. So coast to the stop signs, stop lights, and things like that. Yeah, Jeff, it's absolutely a blessing that the winds aren't howling. Otherwise, these wind chills would be probably twice as bad. Looks like we do have about 800 people without power currently in Potter County. That was not the case a few minutes ago. So hopefully this gets resolved pretty quick. And again, if you are going to be traveling today, just be cautious. The further south and east you get into the Panhandle, the worse it's going to be. Here's some of those records that we think could be in jeopardy. Saturday, our record low is -2. We got to -1 this morning. So still have not set a new record in that regard. But by tonight, we think it's possible. Again, that low temperature we have of -3 for Saturday and Sunday, we think will happen around midnight tonight. And then for Monday, look at that low temperature over there, -7. Monday's record low is -5, so we think that we could probably smash that one too. If we get another inch, inch and a half of snow, it is possible that we do set a record for snowfall. It's just a little bit uncertain for Amarillo. The further south you go, that's where those higher amounts are going to be. Here's those forecast lows for tonight. -3 for Amarillo, 2 in Vega, 0 in Pampa and Canadian. It's going to be miserable to be outside. Clarendon is probably going to see a fair bit of snow. We'll get to that in a moment, James. And then here's your lows for tomorrow night. So this is Sunday night into Monday. -7 is what we have for Amarillo. You can really see where a lot of this very cold air is going to be entrenched into the southeast Panhandle. That's where we'll see probably some pretty significant snow as well as you get down in that direction around Swisher, Briscoe, Donley County, some of those places. So this looks a little bit different than what we showed you yesterday. You can see that we've got Dumas in a winter weather advisory right now. And then we've got Hansford County also been added to that advisory, as well as Sherman and Texas County. That was not the case last night. They were under a winter storm warning, but given the progression and evolution of the system, it looks like it's tracked a little bit further to the south. Going to continue with that winter storm warning further south, but they went ahead and allowed it to expire for a few counties up there in the northern panhandles. We'll get to the snow totals here in a second, y'all. Extreme cold alerts, extreme cold warning has been extended. This looks to be the bigger widespread problem for us. Amarillo has now been added to the extreme cold warning, as well as Borger and Perryton. So we've got about 7 or 8 more counties that were added to this earlier this morning, right before lunchtime. And the cold weather advisory continues unchanged for those areas that did not get the extreme cold warning. So let's go ahead and walk you through the computer model. I think it's doing a pretty good job of picking up on some of that snow that's down there in the South Panhandle right now. This is going to continue to fill in as we get further into tonight. So by 6 p.m., areas around Shamrock and Canadian, as far north as Canadian. I don't know if we'll get much snow further north than the Highway 60 corridor tonight, which again is a big uncertainty and kind of a concern for areas around the Amarillo area. You may see a sharp gradient across the city too. South Amarillo is probably going to see a lot more snow than the north side will. Childress and Paducah, you guys are going to get slammed with some of that snow overnight tonight. It'll eventually swap to outright snow. You can see that our model has a very sharp cutoff, and it does have it from Tucumcari to Amarillo back up to Canadian. But if you're up here in the northern panhandles, you're probably done with the accumulating snowfall. Not expecting much more to end up in these areas. You may get another half inch or so throughout the day today, but a lot of the snow from here on out is going to be in our southern counties, and it could be a significant amount. There is a worst case scenario out there where maybe some of us do get an additional foot of snow still, but that does look like it's going to be in a confined corridor. As we get into Sunday morning, a lot of that snow is going to start to taper off. We should get some clearing skies in the afternoon. Our model has a few people maybe even getting close to freezing out here where we don't see that much snow in the northwest panhandles and back towards Union and maybe the north side of Quay County. I still think we'll stay below freezing for everyone, but you guys may flirt with the freezing point, and that could end your consecutive hours below freezing. But I do think Amarillo will probably stay below freezing for the remainder of Sunday. And then there's this very subtle shortwave trough that's going to come through on Sunday night into Monday. We've kind of alluded to this the last day or two. I don't know if there's going to be much accumulation with it. A lot of our moisture actually gets washed out with this around as we get coming through tonight. It's again going to lift to the north and east, and once we get to the back side of it, we lose a lot of that Pacific moisture. And so anything that we do see on Sunday night will be a very minimal amount, expecting maybe just about a half inch or so in some areas. Temperature is going to get brutally cold heading into Monday morning. I do think we'll fall into the negatives in Amarillo, and probably several areas are going to get into those negatives, which could rival some record low temperatures. Here is the additional snowfall forecast on top of what we have already gotten. So you can see that the thresholds on that bar have kind of changed. We've got anywhere from 1 to 3 inches of snow and sleet in that pink region already. So If you get another 8 inches or more, plus the 3 you already have, there's your foot plus of total precipitation. Here in Amarillo, I mean, you can really see where we just kind of drop off in that higher amounts pretty quick from maybe just a county or two. Dumas, probably less than an inch of snow from here on out. Perryton, kind of the similar conditions. This is really going to be in the southeast panhandle from here on out. We've got Clovis and Portales in that 3 to 6 inch range where you could see some additional accumulations. Amarillo, I would lean towards us maybe seeing closer to 3 inches of snow from here on out. We do have a little over an inch on the ground in some spots, so that's going to get us close to that 5 inch threshold, which is where we've had you guys for the most part with this event. Again, yesterday we had you in 5 to 8. We've pretty well kept you there for the most part. I think we did have you in 8 to 12 a couple of days ago, but that's shifted to the south. We've been largely in the 5 to 8 range down the Highway 60 corridor, which will seem to probably verify. Now, as you get further south, there is going to be much better snowfall around Tulia, Silverton, Childress. Dimmitt's probably going to get quite a bit of snow. From Clovis towards maybe Canyon, back up towards probably Mobeetie is where we're going to see that sharpest gradient in the snow amounts, we think. So if you go south of that line, you'll see some significant snowfall. You go north of that line, you're going to see less significant snowfall. So Amarillo, the southern half of town, probably looking at maybe 6 inches of snow accumulation through the weekend on top of what we've already had. So maybe 5+ more inches in South Amarillo. Only probably 3 though for the north side of town. So some of us will probably get to winter storm thresholds, others will not in the city. So here's our total moisture, and I want to just kind of show you why it's got us with such a sharp gradient in snowfall. I mean, look at this. You've got 3/10 of an inch of moisture for Amarillo. You go south and you've got 7/10 of an inch in Tulia. So you're doubling your amount of moisture. And so you go from maybe seeing 4 or 5 inches here to potentially 10, maybe even 10 to 12 in areas in Swisher, Briscoe, Hall, Childress, and Cottle County. That'll also include parts of Donnelly County and Shamrock. Heather, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, that's not our decision. That's obviously else management, but it is going to be kind of nasty tomorrow. I think the height of the storm in terms of its impacts are going to be tonight into tomorrow morning, and we should start to see those conditions improve as we go through the day on Sunday, at least from a travel standpoint. The conditions in the afternoon will still be well below freezing, but we'll get some sunshine. Visibility is going to grow pretty rapidly, and so as long as there's not a whole bunch of snow on the ground in your area, travel shouldn't be as big of an issue in the afternoon. It's going to be probably a drier snow, Ian. Temperatures are down into the single digits. I think you'll probably be okay, but it could be a significant amount of snow anyway. I mean, you're still looking at 3/4 of an inch of precipitation down here. So while we say it's a dry snow, it could still be a lot of snow. So just something to consider. Hey, Jesus, thanks for stopping by. The bigger issue for us is going to be the wind chills. We are currently at a wind chill of -18, so the model is not doing it justice. It's actually worse outside than what the model is suggesting, which is why we've been trending on the colder side of guidance for your low temperatures tonight and tomorrow. Saturday, 5 p.m., feel like temperatures around -2. It's probably going to be about 10 degrees colder than this, and we'll need to adjust that accordingly. As we get into Sunday morning, a lot of us are going to probably be in that 10 to 20 below zero range, which does put that risk for frostbite in the air. If you're going to be outside for an extended period of time, make sure you cover up your hands, cover up your ears. Again, your nose is probably going to be pretty susceptible to getting frostbite after a while too. Just those areas that really don't get much circulation, or they get poor circulation in the body. Your toes, make sure that you are wearing again some nice socks, and you've got some good insulation in the boots or the shoes that you're going to wear. So here's the 7-day tracker for right now. Looks like we've got to turn that title back on there. We still have the weather alert days running through Sunday. There we go. So we'll put it back out so you guys can see it. We just turned those off. That way it doesn't clash with that weather alert day icon. up there on the top. But we'll probably climb to about 22 tomorrow afternoon in Amarillo. We'll start off around -3, which the record low for tomorrow is actually just 0 on Sunday. So, and that's a long-standing record too. It's been in place since 1897. So we think that that one's going to get broken. We could break the low for today. We could break the snow record for today at 2.8 inches, which was set very recently in 2023, just 3 years ago. Record low of -2, going to be a little harder to achieve, but I do think it's possible. The one that we're most certain on is probably our minimum high temperature for today. That current record is 16 degrees, and we won't probably get into the double digits this afternoon. We were, I think, at 7 degrees at midnight last night, and we are, closer to 0 than we are 7 right now. And we shouldn't get much warmer for the rest of the day today. Let's jump back over to our radar just to give you guys a picture view of kind of what to expect. You can see we've got a lot of snow filling in over Roosevelt County, moving up towards Bailey County. Muleshoe, you guys seeing some really good sleet and snow probably right now. This is moving up in the direction of Canyon and Hereford. Again, notice there's just really light snow here. It looks like this is trying to fill in towards the Amarillo area. So this might be when we start seeing some additional snow accumulations with this next event. And for some of us, especially around Tulia, Silverton, when this stuff starts, it's not going to stop for the next 12 to 16 hours. We're talking about, probably until 6 a.m. tomorrow before this band of snow starts to taper off and come to an end. It'll be a little bit sooner for people in Clovis and Portales. You guys probably going to see an additional 6 inches of snow in Clovis. Portales could see 8 more inches of snow, and then even more than that on the south side of Roosevelt County. It's going to be close, Kim. We've had Amarillo in a 5 to 8 range, so we've already had about an inch of snowfall for the city. So in order for the forecast to verify, we really only need 4 more inches of snow. That would be kind of on the lower side of the range that we gave you guys yesterday. But the significant amounts, like the cumbersome amounts, are going to be to our south, generally speaking. Now, if this low does come in a bit further to the north, based off of what we're seeing on radar, I don't think that's going to be the case. Between Amarillo and Lubbock is like Plainview, Tulia is probably going to get the heart of this heavy snowfall. And then from there up towards about Clarendon and Childress, Wellington, this is where we think we'll have that best chance for a foot plus of snowfall through the next 12 to 16 hours. Snow accumulations with the temperatures as low as they are could be on the order of 1 to 2 inches an hour. Dimmitt, you guys are down here, going to see probably a significant amount. Wouldn't be shocked if you end up with 8 to 12 inches over here in Castro County. So it should be quite a bit, Shay. Well, yeah, I think you guys are solid from like a total snow standpoint, 8 to 12 on top of for the total. Southwest Amarillo, it's so the northwest side of town will see a lower amount than the southeast side will, and that's just the way that these snow bands are going to be moving. They're going to be training over the same locations, coming in from the southwest, moving up to the northeast. There's going to be a very sharp cutoff somewhere near Highway 60. You go southeast of Highway 60, we're probably looking at a significant amount of snow. You go northwest of Highway 60, it may not be that much snow at all. And so you may only have to drive 15, 20 miles in order to go from probably a minuscule amount to, well, we were only in the 5 to 8 and we got 12 inches of snow. So there's going to be people that say that the forecast is busted. There's going to be people that say that it was fine. And, that just is a 20-mile difference in those two different kind of mindsets for some of the people out here. So our snowfall forecast that we just showed you, this is additional on top of what we have already seen. I think that we could still see widespread 6 to 8 inches in that pink range. There's already a couple inches of snow on the ground in some of these areas. I wouldn't be shocked if maybe some places between Tulia and Plainview, where we've had some of those bands come through this morning, there might be some spotty 4 and 5 inches of snow on the ground in some locations. So you get 5 plus 8, you got 13. So this is just additional snowfall on what we've already seen. You could still see some light snow, April. I don't think it's going to be a significant amount in the Northeast Panhandle specifically. I mean, if you get north of Canadian and Miami, you could still see an additional 1 to 3 inches of snow. If you get towards Perryton and specifically the Oklahoma Panhandle, they may be, for the most part, done with significant accumulations, potentially another inch or so on top of what they already have. So here's our radar right now. This is the one in eastern New Mexico. You can see that band filling in. It's overshooting that snow band out here. So if we go take a look from Amarillo, you can see again we've got some snow slash sleet moving through Silverton, Clarendon, and Shamrock. Renee, Hereford, probably going to see kind of a similar gradient like Amarillo. You'll see a little bit more snow than us, but would expect probably 6 to 8 inches of snow down in the Hereford area from a total standpoint. So if you've already got 2 inches on the ground, you're only going to get another 4 to 6. Yes, Jerry, we got the chicken's water thawed out this morning. That's why it took me a little while to get into into the station this morning. It probably took an hour to get the thing thawed out completely. We actually set it outside for a minute, to go do a stand up for some other news stations this morning, and we came back about 3 4 minutes later, and it was already refrozen. So it's very cold outside. But we moved the heat lamp a little bit closer to the water, and the wife texted me about 30 minutes ago and said that it was still partially melted where it dispenses from. So they've got access to water, and the temperature obviously is warm around the heat lamp. We just had to move it a little bit closer to their water. Yeah, Cambry, it's not I don't think it's a crazy event for Amarillo, but it definitely will be a significant one the further south you go. Plainview, Tulia, Silverton, they're in for a doozy. It could be one of the biggest snow events they've had in recent memory. Kim, we've heard anywhere from a half inch to an inch and a half of snow around Amarillo, and some of that might be because of some plant-induced snow, allowing for some heavier accumulations in some isolated spots, like the Harrington plant. All that water vapor and that steam that's released, that turns to snow, and we probably have a narrow swath on the northeast side of town that ends up with probably an inch and a half of snow already. The rest of town is probably closer to about 3/4 of an inch of snow though. So give or take an inch. So let's kind of zoom on out. Let's jump down to Lubbock's radar. You can see again this band of snow a lot better. Again, a lot of this stuff is going to be from Lubbock north. Again, I think the northern extent of that band is going to be here in the Amarillo area. So this is where you're going to see those heavier amounts. If you're north of Highway 60, probably done with significant amounts of accumulation. You'll still see maybe some minor accumulations if you're close to Highway 60. Adrian, Vega could see another couple inches of snow, but a lot of this is going to train over the same locations. And so there's that narrow corridor where we will see a lot of snow, and then you don't have to go far from there to go from very little accumulation from here on out. But let's jump back over to our temperatures. My oh my, is it cold out there. Let's take a look at what it is right now. It's 4 degrees in Amarillo. It is 10 in Clovis and Hereford, 3 degrees in Perryton. Lots of single digits, and that's how it's going to stay the rest of this afternoon. We're already at about 1:30. Jerry, yeah, we think temps probably going to be falling into the low single digits, both above and below zero. Winds are out of the northeast around 10 to 15. So here's those winds, wind chills rather, minus 16 here in Amarillo, minus 15 in Shamrock, Childers at minus 9. A little bit more tolerable as you get back towards New Mexico. That's why they don't have the cold weather advisory for tonight. Still looks like there's about 800 people in Potter County that don't have electricity. Hopefully they have an alternate heat source, because if that electricity goes off, it cools the house off pretty quick. Mar, that's not necessarily our viewing area. We haven't given it much thought and attention out here in Santa Fe. give it a look. Looks like the national blend of models has you guys only picking up probably some minor amounts from here on out. So maybe another inch or two. So here's some of those records that we could potentially set, tie, break over the next couple of days. It's not all of them. The one that we're most confident will probably be shattered is the record minimum high temperature for Amarillo. The minimum high for today is 16 degrees. That was set back in 1940. And we will not get to 10 degrees today. So that one is going to get smashed. We'll probably be around -3 at midnight tonight, give or take a degree or two. So we're going to watch this one too. If we can get to -2 before midnight, then we will tie that long-standing record set back in 1894. We only have records that go back to 1892, so that one was set pretty early on in Amarillo's history and has stayed there ever since. Sunday, we have a record low of 0 degrees. You can see kind of our 3-day planner over here for Amarillo. We expect a low temperature of -3 on Sunday morning, and then a high of 22 degrees. Mason, Borger, you guys are probably going to see a minimal amount. I think you guys were in that 1 to 3 inch range that we had for our forecast. Scroll down and find it. So here's the additional snowfall map that we have. Again, there's a lot of room for these numbers to grow in pink. I think it's a safe bet that you're going to see an additional 6 inches of snow down there. There is the possibility, there's like a worst case scenario. We'll just go ahead and get in and show you. This is your worst case scenario. This is not exactly what will happen, but it is possible. If all that snow continues to fill in right down in here, there could be another swath where an additional foot, 13 inches of snow could fall. You can see our in-house model still says Amarillo is going to get 8 inches, but I think this gradient is going to be much tighter. Sorry, guys. But it's going to be a lot tighter. So it's going to be confined, I think, right down the Highway 60 corridor. So if you go to like Canyon, probably 6-7 inches of snow. You go up toward the north side of Amarillo, you may only get 1 or 2 more inches of snow accumulation. And so you don't have to go very far, maybe half of a county, to go from a minimal amount, which is manageable to drive around in. It's going to cause some minor issues, to something that may be a little bit more moderate in terms of the impacts that it'll have. We're thinking about 3 to 5 inches of additional snow for Amarillo. The further to the northwest you go in Amarillo, the lesser amounts that it will be. So northwest Amarillo, 3, southeast Amarillo, 5, splitting the difference right down the middle. So someone was asking about southwest Amarillo, probably about 4 more inches of snow. And the reason that we're expecting a sharp gradient is for this reason right here. This is our total moisture. So this is just liquid precipitation. And I want you to see how sharp this drops off from just getting maybe 1/10 of an inch up in Dumas to 1/3 in Amarillo. And in reality, this is going to be a sharper gradient. You may end up getting nothing in Dumas, and then 3/10 in Amarillo, and then 7/10 in Canyon. And that line could shift north or south, give or take 15, 20 miles, just depending on how the low sweeps up into the area. But this is what it looks like on radar right now. You can see a bulk of this stuff is coming in from Tulia all the way down towards the Lubbock area. And so this is where we're going to see a lot of heavy accumulations. And that's going to, travel in a line northeast of there. That'll include Silverton, Clarendon, Memphis, Wellington. Shamrock probably still going to see a fair bit of snow as well tonight, maybe up to about 8 inches of additional accumulation. Once you get up towards the Highway 60 corridor, you're going to start seeing that snow amount drop off pretty fast. But Canadian, someone's asking about Canadian, probably another few inches of snow, 2, 3 or so. Again, the northern extent of this band, it's going to be a sharp drop off. And I don't think some of us realize how quick that you're going to go from 12 inches of snow to 2.5 inches of snow here over the next 16 hours. So this is the Amarillo radar. Take a little bit closer look at it. You can see maybe some snow starting to show up there in Hereford. Let's go ahead and take a look around the region. We do have several sky cams that we could take a look at. So here's Dimmitt. Let's take a look there first. Looks like y'all are in maybe some light snow flurries, but it looks like it's kind of a lull in terms of the accumulating snowfall. So back to radar. Dimmitt kind of in a lull, makes sense. You can see most of that heavier stuff is to your east, northeast, and then kind of wraps around you like a horseshoe. But you are about to start seeing some additional snow. You can see it filling in over Palmer County. Let's jump up to Dumas. Obviously, probably not much snow. It looks like maybe some really light stuff, but I'd be hard pressed to see if that accumulates or to say that that accumulates. Just a few flakes flying out there, but you know, we'd probably just call that flurries, not any light snow per se. See what it looks like in Friona. Definitely snowing there. Doesn't look like a lot yet, and some of that might be some sleet too. There was some reports of that last night in our southern counties from Clovis to Hereford, back over towards Clarendon, Childress, and Paducah. But that's Friona. That again is way down here. You're starting to see some of that light snow get down to the surface. This is coming up the Highway 60 corridor. If we see this stuff continue to fill in, then we'll feel a lot better about maybe some higher amounts of snow for Amarillo. But for now, we think the heaviest stuff's going to stay to our south, back towards Dimmitt, Tulia, Silverton, Wayside. Paladura Canyon State Park could have twice as much snow as we have in downtown Amarillo, just given how sharp that gradient's going to be from heavy snow to just light to moderate snow. Let's take a look at Fritch Highway. Nice little coating out there, probably an inch of snow on the ground, maybe a little bit more in some pockets, maybe a little less in pockets. Looks pretty similar to the Amarillo area. Here's a look at Bushland. We'll see if it's snowing out there yet. Doesn't look like it. Looks like I-40 is moving okay. Looks like people are humming down the interstate. They probably need to be careful. Thanks for tuning in, Blake. Thank you for the report. All sleet around Hale Center. So this is sleet right in here, being reported from Chaser Blake Brown. Tulia with a mixture of sleet. It's just going to be really cold Monday morning, Mar. We're expecting temperatures to be down into the single digits. Everyone say hi to Reagan.
Oh, can they see me?
Yep, they can see you. They can hear
I'm
you.
wearing sweat, so I don't look.
You wearing blue too? Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
well, of course, we have to twin. I was just calling,
Mhm.
not calling, asking times. Do you need two at the top?
2 and 4.
2 and 4?
Mhm.
Got it. Okay. Everybody
Awesome.
stay warm. Thanks, Corby.
Thank you. But all sleet in Hale Center. Be nice, David. We appreciate all of y'all's reports too. This is kind of a trickier situation with the warm nose that we have. So it's nice to hear that you guys are seeing a mixture of sleet and snow in Tulia. That transition to all sleet falls somewhere between there and Hale Center, probably closer to Tulia. So it's good to know that this is sleet, and that could impact your snow totals too. If it's all falling as sleet, then you know your snow to liquid ratio is about 2 to 1 with sleet. So that is really going to have a higher impact on the snow accumulation. So it may be from like a Tulia to Canyon that actually end up getting the higher snow amounts if that continues to be the trend. So it does look like they've extended our extreme cold warning and cold weather advisories to include Monday morning also. Blake, it looks like the switchover is probably close to Tulia. Someone else in here was saying that it's a wintry mix of both in Tulia. But let's go ahead and run through our future cast to kind of show you just generally what we expect. So you can see there's that band of snow. Again, the southern extension that says it's snow, we are getting confirmed reports that it is sleet down here. And so that's something to factor into maybe our snow accumulations. But you can see the model really kind of just bisects this panhandle over Highway 60. You're northwest of Highway 60, very limited snowfall tonight. If you are southeast of Highway 60, a lot of precipitation expected here in the coming hours. Unfortunately, areas on Highway 60, there's going to be a sharp gradient of accumulations. You go northwest of your community, you're going to see a minimal amount of snow. You go southeast of it, it could be quite a bit more than the other side of town, just 10, 15 miles away. And when we say quite a bit more, I'm talking about 2 inches of snow versus maybe 10 inches of snow. It's going to be a drastic difference with how the snow band is pushing. It's training over the same locations. Sunday morning, some of that snow will still linger around at 6 a.m., but we should start to see a lot of that taper off between 6 and noon. And then we'll end up seeing clear skies in the afternoon. Temperatures largely will stay in the 20s. You can really see that the snowpack is influencing temperatures down here in the South Panhandle, 23 in Tulia, 21 in Childress, 22 in Paducah, and then getting closer to maybe freezing up here where we don't have a whole lot of snow on the ground. This is another interesting feature that we may need to keep an eye on. It won't be a significant amount of snow, but with how cold it is going to be a drier and fluffy snow. So it could have a 30-to-1 ratio to it. So if you get maybe a 500 of an inch of precipitation, it could be another inch to inch and a half accumulating in some of these areas out here, which is enough to spark a winter weather advisory potentially into Sunday night, Monday morning, because currently our winter weather advisories only run until 6 a.m. in the northwest panhandles, and then the winter storm warning runs until noon. So there could be an addition to a new alert if this does verify. This is a shortwave trough coming in the mean flow aloft. There's not much moisture to work with, but when the temperature is 6 degrees, there's not much moisture in the atmosphere to begin with. So it is something to maybe think about. We did introduce a 10% pop for Monday morning for Amarillo. I think you'll have more of like a 30 to 40% pop for areas around Clayton and Tucumcari with that system that comes in the northwest flow. As we get into your snowfall forecast, this is additional snowfall, and we're leaving room for these numbers to grow. You can see here we've got 6 to 8 plus. There is a worst case scenario in here where you get 12 plus inches of snow, but that's going to be for a very narrow corridor of probably just 10 or 15 miles. And again, it sounds like they're getting sleet around Tulia and Plainview, and so that we may need to shift this up just a little bit. So that heaviest core of snow and outright snow is going to be somewhere maybe down in here from Dimmitt to Clarendon to Shamrock is where we could see the more significant amounts at this point, based off of what the reports are coming in from Hale Center, from Plainview, and from Tulia.
From Steve.
Starting to sleet here. Okay. Sounds like we're getting some sleet here in Amarillo. We'll see if we can erode that warm layer aloft. Let me see if I can't find you guys a prime example of what's kind of happening. So I'm going to drag this over. This is BuffKit. This is actually a really, really useful product for winter weather forecasting. This is not the exact profile, but we're just using it as an example. And so we're getting some sleet here at KVII right now. And the reason for that is the atmospheric profile. We've got snow that's falling and forming in the dendritic growth zone. So that's temperatures between -12 and largely -18 degrees Celsius. When this green bar or this line, this is your dew point as you go up in height in the atmosphere. And then this red line is as you go up in height, that's the temperature in the atmosphere. So this is at about 600 millibars. where we start getting into that -10 to -12 range. So this is where that snow is developing. It's about halfway up in the atmosphere. We're getting sleet here in Amarillo too, Blake. But whenever you see this, so this is our freeze line. When these cross over, that means that we are in an atmosphere that is actually warmer than freezing. And so all of that snow actually melts as it enters that warm environment. And so it turns to a raindrop. But with this sharp, cold air undercutting the warm, moist air with the Arctic front, you fall back below freezing very quickly. And so all of those super cooled water droplets, they refreeze into those, sleet pellets, and that's what we're actually getting to the surface in some of these areas. Yes, certainly those that have to be out and about stay safe, especially the emergency responders and first responders. A lot of them are on call this evening, and it does look like it's going to be a Yeah, Blake makes a very valid point. So depending on how long it takes for the sleet to transition to snow, could certainly impact our totals because sleet only has a snow to liquid ratio of 2 to 1, about 4 to 1 on the drier side, but about 2 to 1. So if you get an inch of moisture, you may only have 2 inches of sleet. And so that's something to definitely factor into the forecast. If it transitions to snow, it'll probably start as a wetter snow since we do have the warm nose, but we expect it to dry out pretty quick. The snow to liquid ratio at our house this morning was actually 20 to 1. It was a 10 to 1 on the south side of Amarillo this morning. But this is our general thought process. It's going to transition to snow at some point. We may need to move this north a little bit. The further north you get, the quicker that warm nose or that warm layer of air aloft is going to be eroded as we see the trough aloft get a little bit closer. So we are getting sleet here in downtown Amarillo. So let's take a look at Hereford. Looks like snow. The visibility is pretty high though, so there could definitely be some sleet mixed in there. Yeah, if this stuff doesn't change over to snow until midnight tonight, that could have a big impact on our totals for winter weather and the snow accumulations. We're going to take the moisture any way we can. We'd rather have the snow. That's a little bit easier to drive through than the sleet. The sleet is ice. It's that rain that refreezes, and so it does make things pretty slick, especially after several people drive across it. But it sounds like a lot of this is potentially just sleet. Anyone from Hereford tuning in, if you want to give us a report, we'd appreciate that. We're looking live. It looks like it could be a mixture, but it may end up being mostly sleet. So for those that are still interested maybe in some local storm reports. There was 0.2 inches of snow and sleet measured over in Friona this morning at the co-op, and that was at 7 a.m. 0.08 inches of liquid equivalent. There was a ½ inch measured in Dimmitt with a liquid equivalent of 0.05. 3 miles east northeast of Tulia, they had a ½ inch of snow reported this morning. That was mainly a mixture of sleet and snow. Uh, 0.4 inches of sleet was measured in Childress earlier this morning at 9 a.m. A little bit further south inside of Childress, the magnitude was 1.3 inches of snow and sleet total. We'll see how quickly this takes to. Hey, Eric, thanks for tuning in. Blake says, I suspect the Tulia will change over to snow faster than anywhere due to the density and longevity of the precipitation that's falling. I would not disagree with that. So he's talking about the precipitation intensity. So we jump back over to radar. You can see that there's that best band of heavier precipitation is right there on the southeast side of Castro County and moving mainly through the heart of Swisher County. Going to go up towards the Claude area in Clarendon. You guys are probably seeing sleet in Clarendon too. But this will eventually transition back over to snow. When we get all that moisture to fall through the atmosphere, it dries the air out, and that drying process is a cooling process, or I'm sorry, an evaporating process is the cooling process, and so that does help erode that warm layer of air aloft that's above freezing. But starting to see some showers popping up around Deaf Smith County. Again, you can see a decent band coming in from Highway 60 or right up Highway 60 there from Friona to Hereford. That's going to impact the southwest side of Amarillo soon. It does look like that will probably be mainly sleet here in the next hour or two. Looks like we may have some rolling power outages coming from Excel later this evening due to high demand with electricity. We were wondering if that was going to be a concern with this event. We'll get back to him here in a minute. Let's take a look at our outage map. So it looks like that outage actually just went away in Potter County, so that's good. That was a 30-minute lapse. That's current. Mixture of sleet and snow in Plainview. Thanks for the report, Blake. take a look and see what the latest Baron model's got for us. I think this is a new run. This would be your probably worst case scenario. So you can see those numbers have definitely come down for Amarillo. It's come down a couple inches. But biggest swath way down here. Again, this is like a worst case scenario. There's probably going to be an area that does get a foot of snow, but I don't think it's going to be this broad. That's your worst case scenario. So we've already had an inch of snow here in Amarillo, 6.6 on top of that. That'd be getting us on that higher side of the 5 to 8 that we had yesterday in the forecast. This is what we think is going to happen tonight. We'll get an additional 3 to 6 in purple, Clovis, Portales, Dimmitt splitting the difference. You'll probably be closer to 6 inches of snow there. Right kind of in the middle of that 4 or 5 range in Hereford, 3 on the extreme northern edge of this purple band that you see, this region here. As you get into the darker blue, Vega, Adrian, Tucumcari, probably another 1 to 3 inches of snow will be possible through 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, and then less than an inch if you're up here in the cyan color, that really light blue, that pale blue. That's where we think you'll have a very minimal amount. Again, that's going to be a pretty sharp gradient going from not much snow to driving an hour south, hour and a half south, to seeing another 6-7 inches of snowfall. And that gradient will be probably even sharper as you get south of Highway 60. Let's jump back over to our radar and just kind of take a view of where things are at. Let's do a 1 hour time lapse here. So you can see how these showers are moving in from. Hey Jamie, just letting you know, Josiah said that Xcel Energy might be doing rolling power outages. We may want to confirm that. I don't. He said he got a text message from him. Yeah, call and confirm. All right, thank you. False alarm. I think it's a false alarm. No, doesn't look like there's going to be a rolling blackout. Power's going to stay on today. Starting to get some more snow in Tulia. Thanks for that report, Jesus. Which again, that's probably, I mean, you're right in the heart of this heavy stuff down here, so that makes sense. We'll continue to slowly erode. So just for those that maybe attend this, the Methodist, St. Paul United Methodist in Pampa, um, they're canceling worship services for tomorrow for anyone in Pampa that live up there. St. Paul United Methodist Church in Pampa is going to cancel services for tomorrow. Messiah's House Church is canceled as well for this upcoming Sunday. They will still broadcast a virtual message on Facebook and YouTube, though, at 11 a.m. So those are just some of those cancellations that we've got coming in for tomorrow. But most of our heavy snow you can see starting to fill in down there in Dimmitt, down around Tulia. Homer, let's take a look. You can see you've got a little bit. Let's actually take a look at the Dodge City radar. Might provide a better view for you guys. You can see most of the snow is moving away from you. Maybe some light flurries coming in. If we take a look again back at Amarillo, this is a false echo here, but not a whole lot really expected up here. Probably going to be pretty quiet, less than an inch of snow accumulation through the rest of tonight. You will see some additional stuff start to develop in New Mexico. You can start seeing that down here, but a lot of this is going to favor the southern half of the Texas Panhandle, largely from Amarillo south. Big flakes in Tulia. That's right down here, Amy. From Portales to Clovis, it's starting to fill in. Expecting the heaviest snow to fall just to the south of the Highway 60 corridor. This band is going to be tracking from southwest to northeast, up through areas around Silverton, Tulia, Dimmitt, potentially Canyon and Amarillo, and then tracking up through Clarendon, Shamrock, Groom, and McLean. This is where we're going to see some of the heaviest amounts of snow, is right down in here. So you'll see most of that heavy snow right in here. It's probably going to be a wintry mix as you get south of here. But if you're in the circle, this is where you'll probably see some of the more impactful amounts of snow. And again, we weren't expecting a lot of snow through now anyway. We were expecting anywhere from 1 to 2 inches in Amarillo through about 6 o'clock tonight. We expected that next band, which looks like it's developing pretty early this afternoon. So that could be a good sign for us. But we weren't really expecting the snow to start until about 5 or 6 o'clock tonight, and then continuing into the overnight hours until about 6 a.m. So if it starts snowing and sleeting early, then maybe we are on track for some better amounts here in the Amarillo area. It's starting to really fill in over the south, or just south of Vega there in northern Deaf Smith County. Anyone interested? A&M beat South Carolina. They're on a heater in basketball for the men's team. Let's take a look at Hereford. They've got a mixture of sleet and snow falling down there. Looks like it's mostly sleet. Can still see a few things falling here in front of the trees out there by Walmart, but that is probably just sleet falling. You can kind of tell too, whenever the visibility is pretty high, but you get precipitation, you can kind of see it there. It's either very, very light snow or it's sleet, and it does look like that's probably sleet with how fast it's falling to the ground. Let's take a look over in Bushland. There are a few hydrometeors coming down. Probably a mixture of sleet, maybe a flake or two, but mostly sleet. Take a look at Channing. This is way up in the northwest panhandle. You can see they had a nice little dusting of snow. Still kind of see the grass, so it doesn't look like it was a lot, maybe an inch or so. that'll melt pretty quick, especially if you guys don't see much more accumulation through the rest of this evening. But it is starting to fill in up here. Again, this could be promising for us as we move into this evening. That might allow for some of those better amounts of snow to move into the Amarillo area. Mhm. Let's take a look down in Childress again. It definitely looks like it's probably sleet down there too. And that sleet will have an issue. That's going to have an impact on your snow totals. We need this to really transition to snow pretty fast. Outside of the wintry precipitation, which again is going to be a big story for us, especially in the southern half of the area over the next 16 to 20 hours. We do have some very, very cold temperatures out there. It is 5 degrees in Amarillo right now. It's 10 in Hereford and Clovis. You get down into the very low single digits, but we are all above zero. Some of us were in the negatives this morning. We actually have been down to -1 in Amarillo so far. And then if you look at our winds, the wind is sustained at 17 miles per hour in Amarillo. And so if you factor that into the wind chill, it's about -14 is what it feels like when you step outside right now, at least here in the Yellow City. The further west you go, the better it is. Looks like the phone's about to die, so we're going to end our Facebook Live. We'll have another one later this afternoon. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for bearing with us. We are going to end the live here. I'm starting to obviously see some continual filling in of that band of snow slash sleet. It's about 85% sleet here in Amarillo right now. We are starting to see a few flakes mix in. I don't think that transition is going to take very long, but we got to get a couple of other things hashed out here at the station. So we'll be live again, I think around 4 p.m., and we'll probably run live for about 30 minutes to give you another update. We may have some additional information coming in from some of our storm spotters out there. Blake Brown's down in Swisher County right now, says that it has transitioned to purely snow and it is very large flakes. And so there's probably going to be a high amount of accumulation just to the south of the Highway 60 corridor based off of what we're seeing on the map right now. As this stuff continues to fill in, it's going to just, you're going to start to see those conditions deteriorate over the course of this evening. I mean, you can still see it filling in even over here in eastern New Mexico, more of a west to east motion. So we may see some of that drier air come in a little bit sooner for areas around Vega, Dumas, and Tucumcari. But down here, where the flow is more southwest to northeast, going to see a tremendous amount of moisture here. But again, with this starting to collide, you're getting some convergence here. We're starting to see some additional development of some of that snowfall. That's just some of that vertical dynamic lift that we need to get some of that snow to develop. So we'll see again how long this lasts, this precipitation for Amarillo. We do expect it to snow at least lightly overnight tonight, and so that could lead to accumulations of about 3 to 5 inches of snow for us. You don't have to go south of Amarillo by much in order to get into some of that very heavy stuff. I mean, Tulia is only an hour away. They're probably going to see the brunt of this storm where we could see 8 to 12 inches of accumulation, and then maybe some isolated areas that are picking up more than a foot of snow here over the next 12 to 24